mandated diets and dietary restrictions are changing how consumers eat, prepare, and share food. And right now, 60% of US families are actually impacted by a special diet. Some of those are medically mandated diets, food allergies, autoimmune disease, inflammatory conditions, or it might be to better live their values, kosher, vegan, vegetarian, or to improve health. So I am one of those people. And after I had my boys, I have 6 boys, inherited 4, had 2 more, I ended up getting really sick with multiple autoimmune diseases. I was on about $2,000 a year of medicine and felt terrible, looked terrible, had no energy, and I figured out there had to be a better way. So I slowly started eliminating foods from my diet. So I no longer eat gluten, dairy, soy, corn, or eggs. But I've been off medicine for 7 years. And I'm not alone. When you look at the sales data that's going on right now, allergy-friendly food, labeled allergy-friendly food is selling at 36 times a faster rate than other foods. Dietary restrictions and preferences are at the center of all the food trends, but nobody has solved the #1 problem for people and families with special diets, which is actually eating with other people. So I was so not clued into this that we even redesigned our kitchen in a way that the kitchen counter was right here and my family could sit in a booth over there because I could no longer eat what they ate, so I thought I'll just do the dishes. So the people that have food allergies really suffer in silence. There's a lot of shame that goes with it. There's a lot of shame with being difficult. So you have choices when you go to an event like this. I could not eat, I could bring my own food, I could eat around it and risk getting sick, or I could raise my hand and say, oh, sorry, I'm one of those difficult people. So I'm Trish Thomas. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Whole and Free Foods. My co-founder, Nicole Wilson, couldn't be with us today, but we are a woman-owned, minority woman-led business, and we've been at this since 2017. And our goal is to be the leading brand in what is now a $24 billion free-from food category by the time it hits $36 billion in 2025. Most food companies that play in this space don't taste good. Not all. Contain some allergens. And or they manufacture their food on equipment that still poses risk of cross-contact with the ingredients consumers are trying to avoid. So our founders know how to launch and scale. This is my 4th company. I also teach entrepreneurship at Northwestern. Nicole, my co-founder, has deep food expertise. She spent years at Pepsi. She ran a $33 billion R&D portfolio, was the brand manager at Fritos. She also did M&A work and was on the lead team that acquired Sabra. Dick Thomas, who's my co-founder and husband. Dick has spent his entire career in marketing, actually stocking the shelves for Oscar Mayer early on, and in his own agency, ConAgra Foods was his biggest client. Bill Kimball runs our manufacturing. Bill spent 30 years in product supply at Procter & Gamble, building over 100 factories. And Matt Ring is our head of sales, and Matt launched brands like Pop Chips, Dwala, Perfect Bar, companies that you've heard of. So we didn't take the easy route. In 2017, a big food company told us this was impossible. And we said, what? They said, you can't make food that tastes good. We said, okay. So we spent 2018 developing an entire portfolio of food. So that was the first riskiest proposition. Actually, how we got my husband Dick into the business is we fed him our food for a couple of months and didn't tell him what he was eating. He just thought I got to be a better cook. 2019, we tried to get it made, and we couldn't. What we found out was there isn't contract manufacturing that is free from the top 14 allergens and corn. We've later learned, my students did the research, that 50% of free-from entrepreneurs quit because they can't get their stuff made, which means they can't raise capital. So we've actually built an end-to-end gluten, allergy, and corn-free supply chain, from developing proprietary ways to train and educate our people, to ingredient sourcing, to production, because when you have to work with doughs that don't have gluten in them, they're different. They don't work the same way. And everything we do is certified, non-GMO, gluten-free, kosher. So I don't get credit for the brands. Our customers do. So we went out and talked to over 100 people, and what we heard was their biggest pain point was actually eating with other people. And as I mentioned earlier, people don't talk about it. There's a lot of shame that goes with this. Nobody wants to be a burden. Nobody wants to be a bother. Nobody wants to be difficult. And so we realized the big opportunity for the company wasn't to just make food free of certain ingredients. It was to actually make food that tasted so good that everybody would eat it with or without dietary restriction. So we're the rock stars that launched our first product, Everybody Eats Snack Thins, on March 1st, 2020. On March 11th, we shut everything down, moved 900 cases in my living room, and prayed. Today, and what differentiates the product is everything that we do will be the only clean and craveable item in that category. So, I realize that mic is funny. So our snack thins are the only clean and craveable. Our crisp breads that are coming out are clean, craveable, and grain-free. Our cookies, clean, craveable, and sugar-free. So we started small, literally running around with bags of snacks during the pandemic, and we placed ourselves in local retailers. But what we were trying to solve for was that we knew that there were places where people found it difficult to eat. And it's not only in your own house or a Super Bowl party, but it's the airport, it's the restaurant, it's schools, it's universities. So we've been successfully selling in all different channels in the Midwest. Whole Foods locally, they expected us to sell 6 SKUs per week. We've been averaging closer to 10. Some stores are doing as close as 20. They told us 2 weeks ago that they're going to be taking us global next year. So we've gone from 20 local stores in Illinois to global distribution in Whole Foods in under 1 year. We had to turn down a 300-store chain last week because we just couldn't make it. So our customers are everybody with special diets to performance eaters. The most interesting thing is actually what we've done to the category. So the cracker category has been flat. And if you look at, there's been substantial growth in foods that are actually free from the top 8 allergens. But what we're seeing is in every channel in the Midwest, substantial growth in foods that are crackers that are free from the top 8 allergens and corn. And we're driving that growth, growing at over 16,000% last year. We're seeing these results in every channel that we're in. On Amazon, 80% of sales are from repeat customers of our Cheeseless brand. The average for the category is 30. But we're capped at what we can make. So manufacturing is our biggest challenge because we can only sell what we can make. But from the beginning, what we've known is that our model was really a first and best customer model. So if we can make it for ourselves, we can also make it for other entrepreneurs and brands. Amazon called us last year to see if we could co-man for them. We said no, but not yet is really the answer. So our vision for how we can impact the Grow New York region is to actually bring other companies with us, to create more free from manufacturing where we are the first and best customer, and then bring other companies with us to co-man their stuff. So we've actually been out talking to people in the region where we could invest in capabilities with them to actually broaden our portfolio. While we're making baked goods right now, Love Beats in Rochester, New York, I'm going on Thursday, they've got 20,000 square feet of manufacturing space that is allergen-free, that we could use to make all of our wet stuff, which is basically dips, dressings, marinades. Boza Pasta is a Rochester-based company, and they're looking to expand their operations so that we can work with them to make pasta. So again, our pasta and our wet pack will be the only clean and craveable thing in the category. But more importantly for the Grow New York region is how can we bring other companies with us? So we'll invest with partners in the region we'll invest and put some of our people in the region, and combined we think that we can create over 150 to 200 jobs over the next 5 years. In Chicago, we have proven that we don't actually create jobs, we create careers. 80% of our company are people of color, and 100% of our production force was impacted by gun violence this year. Only 98% of those people still came to work because we were safe. So we've developed education programs, financial programs, and ways to expand lives. So our goal is that when we come to grow New York, we will really grow not just our business, but our people, and make it easier for everybody to eat everywhere. Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. Your mic is flopping over here. This mic is kind of flopped over, so just try to hold it up a little bit or something.
Okay.
That's great. So, all right, over to the judges for questions. John C., I think you're first up.
Sure, a great presentation and certainly a compelling need, just speaking from experience with our own family members. So really like what you're talking about here. I think you started answering part of my question as I was thinking about it, but I'll throw it out there anyways. It seems like there's such a need that people ought to be beating the doors down to get to you to do this. So what do you see as your major barriers to expansion? I know you talked about a few of them, but what is the single one or two largest barriers?
Manufacturing capabilities. So I did run around in 2019 and ask people to give us $4.5 million to build a factory. No one said yes. So we're at that place now. So it's really about scaling manufacturing production. So to do that, we started first with 1,000 square foot space. Then we've been selling everything we can do since August 2020. So then last fall we jumped to an 8,500 square foot space, semi-automated equipment. And then now we're going into automating that production, which is fully automated lines, those kinds of things. So it's really been manufacturing. But first it was belief. Like in 2018, the question was, could we make food that tastes good? 2019 was, could we make it? 2020 was, could we sell it, or were they going to stick us in the weird food aisle, right? And 2021 was, could we scale it and demonstrate velocity? And 2022 is preparing to really scale it. We've been saying no to people for 18 months.
Great. All right, Annie, I think you're up next.
Yeah, great presentation. Really, really interesting what you're doing and what you're building. One of the things I was very curious about, especially as I read your submission, was really about better understanding the IP and how you are going to protect that. It is, as you mentioned, the cracker category is ripe for disruption. Are there other people behind you looking to build something similar, and then how are you going to defend that?
So there's two aspects to the IP. So we have the trademarks that we've used, both the branding, that we have the registered trademark, Everybody Eat. We also have 28 other trademarks coming behind. But when it comes to the manufacturing, we have some trade secrets in how we do what we do, so we can't talk about them. But there are some very specific ways that we actually get flavor in our food. So most of the time when you have something that's highly flavored, the flavor's put on top of a base, right? And our flavor is actually inside the crackers, or inside, and it's whole food ingredients. And then we have one other piece of technology that we're working on that is an ingredient contamination warning system that we're going through some of the patent filing now.
Great. So, Laura Peterson.
We had some of your crackers in the judging room, and they were very good. So.
Good.
Kaboom.
Something you mentioned in your application was a ingredient contamination warning system. Is that something that you're continuing with, or would be a separate thing?
No, it's something that we're continuing with. We actually have filed it for an SBIR STTR grant, and working with people at Northwestern University, and it's using sensor technology, then blockchain technology, so that you could actually start to detect allergens way earlier in the supply chain. So when they come from the farm to the holding tank, usually most people don't detect allergens until something's at the end of the life cycle, and then you have to do all the difficult recalls.
Excellent.
I could see where that would be very helpful. We get asked all the time about allergens in our products, and, you know, we're a farm, so.
All the time. And then you find out weird things, like in Kenya, when they pick mushrooms, they eat peanuts on the trucks. And there's all kinds of weird cross-contact risks depending on where the food comes from.
Mary Shellman?
Thanks, Trish. So I agree with Laura. I thought the crackers were completely addictive, and you just identified one of the reasons that I thought they were so good, which was the flavor was inside of it. And it was like a great lingering thing, so congrats on that. I would definitely buy these. So I'm just curious, I mean, it's hard to launch a brand. It's really, really hard to launch a brand that goes across a gazillion categories, which you seem to be doing. I mean, would you talk me through your decision process about, man, let's just go down crackers versus let's have all of these other products there, especially given the fact that your manufacturing capacity today is limited, and I'm assuming, you know, even when you build your next plant, you're going to have to make some choices.
Yes, so the idea is not to be everywhere with everything all the time. So the real reason to go to our direct-to-consumer site is going to be that's where you get the new products next. So our crisp breads, which we literally sold out of, or I would have sampled. I did give you some samples. I was able to score one box of the crisp breads. So those are only available online and at a couple select retailers in Chicago. Whole Foods will probably take those locally, just in the state of Illinois. So where we look at launching new products, it's the same thing. It's region and channel specific, but there is a real value. This problem of eating is hard, right? And so people like me, when we find something that we want or that we can eat, we will go to that brand and we want to buy everything they have. So we're not going to try to go broad with all products as we launch them. We'll try to go deep with key customers and launch most stuff online.
Excellent. So any other questions from the judges? John, you ready to go?
Yeah, just a quick question. Again, maybe it's obvious, but wondering about the job impact as part of, you know, working with the Grow New York program, and I'm assuming it's coming through the manufacturing process?
It's predominantly coming through the manufacturing process. I mean, there's some things that we haven't even started to get to yet, where we're looking at labs that can do some of the allergy testing here. But the job estimate is 100% through the manufacturing process and the leadership of that. So I worked with Daniel Cross, who runs Love Beats, Michael Boza, to come up with an estimate of what we thought the employment impacts would be of that, as well as if we brought another baking facility here to New York.
Excellent. Ann Greven, do you have a question?
Yep. If you move on to wet production, which is dips and dressings, that requires different plants, processing equipment. So are you looking at creating another plant? Are you looking to partner? And then how would you do that given the allergen component?
That's why Love Beats is an amazing partner. Sitting there in Rochester with 20,000 square feet ready to go, they already have the whole refrigerated supply chain figured out. So we would do it with a joint venture with them. So we'll bring our recipes, we'll bring our brand, we'll bring the capital to buy the equipment in the plant, but they've already got the cold supply chain figured out.
Thank you.
Excellent. Any follow-up questions from the judges? Nope. Seeing none.
Can I ask one question?
Go ahead, Ann.
Funding to date.
Yes.
What has been your primary source of funding to date? Have you gone out to raise money, or where are you in?
I have raised money. We did it the beginning the old-fashioned way, mortgage the house. So we put up the first $1.5 million. That's why there was prayer, and we shut it down during COVID. And then we've actually raised $4 million. So Cleveland Avenue is our largest institutional investor in Chicago. And it's like a mic zone up here. But then some of our other private investors are Steve Gill, who is the founder of Talenti Ice Cream, Jim Murray, who's the president of RX Bar after they sold it to Kellogg's. We have somebody who is a CEO of a $13 billion manufacturer, equipment manufacturer. So we have a lot of pretty amazing people that have rounded out our team that actually came in as investors.
That's great. Thank you.
Great. Really good job. Let's give her